good afternoon, Desiree. Just a point of correction there. The initial motion of no confidence, which was ultimately reversed by the courts, was not an ANC-sponsored motion, but however, it was brought by minority parties at the time. And as we have seen today, there are 3 motions of no confidence also brought by minority parties, the AIC being one of them, which was behind the first motion of no confidence that we saw in the city of Johannesburg. We understand that the last motion of no confidence, which was brought before council in December, was withdrawn by the ATM as well as the AIC. This was in an effort to allow the ANC and the EFF to deliberate and continue negotiations after the EFF felt that it was betrayed somewhat by the ANC in the city of Ekurhuleni, and conversations continued and negotiations also continued in order to remedy that relationship and resolve some of the issues that emerged following that council sitting in the city of Ekurhuleni. Fast forward to today, we are here expecting to hear the 3 motions of no confidence, as well as another motion of no confidence in Speaker Colleen Makhubela. I'm joined by the ANC's Dada Moreira, who's just going to give us a sense of how those conversations with the EFF have gone. Thank you so much for speaking to us. Are you confident that you're going to have the numbers today and have conversations gone well with the EFF to suggest that, this could really work in the ANC's favor?
Thank you, Mbali. The process now, we do have the required numbers. Of course, for you to remove, you require at least 50 plus 1, which we have. We're currently sitting at 140. We're actually required to have 136. So we will remove the Democratic Alliance. You do remember in November we did withdraw the motion to allow for processes of negotiations to be concluded between the ANC and the EFF, and those negotiations have been concluded to an extent that there's an agreement that we will field a minority mayor today as Johannesburg. Well, the view is that it will be a temporary process until certain issues are finalized between the EFF and the ANC in regards to the Ekurhuleni Metro and all other municipalities that they're negotiating on. So that process will then be concluded and will be given a report. But today, yes, Johannesburg will proceed and remove Mpho Phalatse, Dr. Mpho Phalatse.
So we've seen the EFF voting together with the ANC, and it seems as though, even though there have been some differences and some issues that needed to be ironed out, you continued working together. Should we take this to mean that, what will happen? So you're talking about a minority candidate that will then be fielded in the interim. Should we take this to mean that this is while you wait for things to unfold in the city of Ekurhuleni before an ANC candidate can be fielded in the city of Johannesburg?
Yes, that's what would happen. And once they've concluded that, then we'll continue. I can't say what the negotiations will permeate to, but we know that for now, the decision is that Johannesburg must continue and elect a minority mayor so that we remove the DA. So that decision has been made.
Colleen Makhubela is also facing a motion of no confidence today. How will your party be voting in this instance?
No, that motion will not succeed. The Action SA is taking chances. We're going to destroy that motion. So Colleen will continue to be the speaker. Even today when we leave the chamber, she'll be the speaker of council. So we will just kill that motion. They know that they don't have the numbers, and they also have admitted themselves in a public statement that in fact their coalition has collapsed with the Democratic Alliance. So they are in disarray, as you can see even in their chamber. They're not even interacting with each other between the DA and Action SA. So basically they have collapsed.
So it's safe to say that you are a mayor in waiting until all things are really concluded?
No, I'm a very humble man, so I wouldn't want to make such comments. But once the conclusion of the negotiations, the ANC will then take over Johannesburg, and I will remain the candidate mayor for the ANC.
Thank you so much for speaking to us. There you have it. That is Dada Marero speaking to us about today's proceedings, as well as conversations that continue within the ANC as well as the EFF. Also just talking, alluding to things to come in the city of Ekurhuleni. We do understand that there is a motion of no confidence in the speaker there, and we're yet to find out how people are going to vote there and how that will unfold. And it seems as though there may also be a motion of no confidence looming in the city of Ekurhuleni, if anything which we've just heard is to go by. It's back to you in studio.
Mbalenhle, while we have you, it's interesting that Dada Marero speaks about just watching how the negotiations permeate, because that's always the problem, isn't it? That agreements are made and people turn back on their agreements. But what I really want to ask you is that clarification you made in the morning about the genesis of the original motion of no confidence. Today we're talking about 3 motions of no confidence. How does that work? Can parties come together to put up a motion of no confidence? Why does it have to be 3 separate motions?
Well, I cannot say much about why the 3 different political parties would come forward with different motions of no confidence. I suppose it is their democratic right to, express themselves in any way they feel is necessary. But you will remember that the first motion of no confidence was brought by the AIC, which had cited poor service delivery. Again, in November last year, we saw the AIC also citing poor service delivery, really concerned by the mayor's silence at the deaths and the lives that were lost in Eldorado Park, as well as the rising crime levels in the area there. And they were concerned that she didn't even go to be with any of the families or the victims of the crime in the area, seemingly, and also accusing her also of being uncaring towards the people of Eldorado Park, and also allowing service delivery to suffer in those particular areas, saying that Margaret Arnold, who is the AIC's president, would always say that the grass is as tall as she is, which is we're almost around the same height. So that means it's really tall if the grass is indeed that tall. So these are some of the issues that were raised. The ATM also talking about concerns over service delivery. So it seems as though, the biggest concern and the biggest issue here is indeed service delivery.
Also, Mbalenhle, you spoke to the PA's Gayton McKenzie earlier. I found something he said quite interesting. He says the Democratic Alliance wants to be removed so that they can teach Mpho Phalatse a lesson. Does that mean that today's result is a foregone conclusion?
Well, if the numbers are anything to go by, and I mean, we've seen the EFF, the ANC, and the opposition benches voting together during council last year. You'll remember during the time when the DA had brought a request to council for a 2 billion rand short-term loan to be approved in council. That motion or that request was rejected and defeated in council, and this was in part due to the fact that the opposition at the time was voting together, including the EFF, which meant that they had majority. So even though the courts had reinstated Mpho Phalatse, it seems as though they didn't have the numbers in council to even get a single majority or even vote in any way or get their way in any way. And this is evident in that 2 billion rand loan, which was brought not once but twice before council and was defeated and rejected on both occasions. Now, you would have heard about the efforts by Action SA to try and regain some of those lost seats. They tried to get the Patriotic Alliance's 8 seats, and this would have at least assisted them to get them somewhat of a majority in council. But because that deal has been rejected by the Patriotic Alliance, it seems they still remain with fewer numbers to make government in the city of Johannesburg, or to save off or to save themselves from that motion of no confidence, meaning that if they don't have the numbers, they will not be able to. But we don't know how the EFF will be voting, if they will continue voting with the ANC. But based on that conversation that we've just had with Dada Morero, it would seem as though it's all systems go, and the EFF may vote alongside the ANC.